as a very basic form, capable to change.
Tumbled and fumbled around instead, you know my head is like a Rubik's Cube. Except all them colors turn to blue. Unless I'm tumbling and fumbling with you. I'm tumbling and fumbling. I'm tumbling and fumbling. I'm tumbling and fumbling. Sometimes my colors, baby, but just to prepare. 1 cube, 6 size, 9 stickers on nails, 54 squares. Turn my grooves, if you figure me out, I give you 20 moves. It's just the cube. Why does it feel like I got something to prove to you?
The cube, capable to change. The cube, without a special. The cube, finally I succeed. The cube, nowadays, goes to the cube.
Do you remember the first time you saw
The
it?
cube.
Why do you think the cube is so popular?
The cube became popular.
Welcome to the Cube. Why am I on big screen? I have no idea. Let's go back to normal. Look at the whole thing has gone to shite. Martin's left us, and look at it's all falling apart. And who was playing the wrong intro there? Who was it?
You.
Yeah, it was me. It was me. It was me. Sorry about that. Bring back Mark. Bring back Mark. How is everybody?
All good.
See you last play. Plodding.
Good, mate. All good, yeah.
Richie, I warned you. Don't say plodding. I want something better than plodding.
Gonna catchphrase it, mate.
Good to hear that everyone's good. Yeah, look, we said we'd start the show, and we will talk about Martin, and because as the announcement last week, Martin has decided to pack it all in to leave Lord. And you've got a picture of him just in case you forget what he looks like. So this is him here, Martin. So yeah, Martin just decided to pack in the YouTube gig and leave Loaded, and it just for his own reasons. Like he just wants more time with the family and more time with as everything kind of gets busier for him. He wants to focus on other things. So yeah. He goes with our blessing, and yeah, he's kind of been working his way out, I suppose, over the last little while. He hasn't been involved as much, but he's a lot going on as well. But yeah, we go as we said on Twitter, and people are probably sick of us talking about it on Twitter now. But all the best to Martin, and I'm sure he'll pop on now as a guest and on the shows in the future. But yeah, anyone else want to say anything about Martin? No.
Good old dad.
This guy.
Just on time. Just on time.
Yeah. I think from our perspective, it was a big part of us being a 5. I think we've always talked about us being a 5, haven't we? I know it's something that we've always mentioned, and we've got to remember that this is a hobby. We'd say it all the time, but actually we say it because we mean it, and it's a hobby, and it's something that we enjoy doing. It's not something that we're, that is our life or every day. And at some point, you've got to look and think about yourself, and you think about your priorities. And Martin's had to do that. I think we all have over the last year. I've had to kind of step back and think about our priorities, if we're honest, and maybe more than once. And this is what makes us obviously being an effective team is what we are. And Martin's made that decision, and look, we all supported him 100% and continue to do so. To the point where he's even still on the WhatsApp chat. He hasn't left yet. He's not yet. But look, we all 100% respected Martin's opinions and views about stepping aside. And look, it's not. Although he's not going to be on shows with us, he'll still interact with us. He'll still be part of the team and part of the family. So, from that point, that's not going to change. But it'll just be that we won't see him on the screens as often, or maybe not as often. It always
maybe more often.
Always say he's basically that he was never on anyway. So yeah, we just might not see him on the screens as what we would before. But look, we wish him all the best, and we look forward to cracking open a few beers in April. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to add on to what Pete's just said, I think Martin's going to be a big miss to the channel. You know, he knows how fondly we all think of him. In all seriousness, you know, he's one of the founder members, and yeah, for me personally, like I will miss him being on screen. I know he used to always give me a lot of stick, but I'm pleased that he's still around. I'm pleased he's still in the WhatsApp group, and do you know what? I still harbour this like hope that maybe one day he'll come back. Because I think I've said to you boys, haven't I, from the start when we started Loads of Mag, that really like it doesn't feel the same if all 5 of us aren't involved. But equally, just to add, you know, totally respect his decision, and he's made the decision which is right for him, and that's, you know, absolutely, you know, the right thing to do. You've got to put your family first, and you know that's what he's done. It doesn't surprise me because that's the kind of bloke he is. But yeah, he'll be a big miss. But always nice to see him in the chat, and I know that we'll all keep in touch. So I know Mart's watching, so miss you, Mart. But nice one for keeping in touch.
That's Chris, and of course now we have redundancies in Loaded HR. Now that Martin's left, there's no need for them anymore. Really, all those complaints that went in. But Richie.
Yeah, after, you know, it's we all said we're a family, on we're the 5 of us of, you know, even, you know, like our wives have to put up with quite a lot, you know what I mean, for the amount of stuff that we do, and we, you know, it's right. It's always have to take time out to, you know, look after your other families and stuff like that. And then unfortunately, you know, Martin's had a lot on the last, you know, 12 to 18 months, and there might be some things that I don't know about or you don't know about, but you know, I speak to Martin quite a lot, probably more than out of the lot of us, you know what I mean? And because we went through a lot of similar things at the same time, and it was, I had a feeling it was coming because, you know, Martin's had a load on, as I said, and it's just, I'm gutted he's not here anymore, because it's like, he's the comedic genius of the 5, I'd probably say, do you know what I mean? And you just never know what's expected, and we could just be meandering along towards something, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's just, you know, bleep, blip, whatever, and it just lightens the tone, and, you know, it relaxes us even more, sometimes gets us back on track, sort of thing, sometimes. Yeah. But, you know, I've made a friend for life there, as I have with all you lads, do you know what I mean? And it's just good he's not going to be on the screen with us as much, but obviously, we still speak. He's in the chat still. He's still got DMs. I've spoken to him a couple of times since, but and that'll never change. You know what I mean? He's coming over to see Sam Fender with us next year, which is all. I know we're both looking forward to that. Just some quality drinking and music time for the weekend, which that'll be good and stuff like that. But yeah, I love him loads. Do you know what I mean? He's like a long lost brother as well in a way. But yeah, I'll miss him being on the shows. But it's, as I said to him personally, it's a friendship that'll never end, and it'll always go on. So there we go.
Oh, nice one, Richie. Nice one, everyone. Touching tribute to Martin. Gone from Loaded, but definitely not forgotten. And I'm sure he'll pop back on our screens again at some point. But the good news is we have a guest waiting in the green room. So are we ready to bring on our first guest of the night? And this guest has been a massive follower of Loaded, and always retweets our links and our tweets and everything, and tries to put us on the map. So it's my going to be. I think it's my first time meeting this man virtually face to face. Here he is, Paulie G. Welcome,
Hello.
Paul. How are you?
Hello there. Can you hear us?
Even Paulie, all right, mate?
All good, mate. All good.
Excellent. Yeah, I've just come off Steve Riff's show. It flashed up. There was a message on Twitter, so just clicked on it. Happy to be on the show.
Welcome to your first time on Loaded.
Thank you.
Is there any particular topic you'd like to bring to us, Paul? Anything of concern or anything you want to raise?
Well, like I've just said on Steve Riff's show with Ben, I asked Ben a question. You know how when England qualified for the World Cup, I think the form is deliberate. And the reason why I think it's deliberate is to get a better price in the roll up to when we kick off for the World Cup. Because let's be honest, we should be defeating teams instead of like playing the way we are. What's your views?
So you think in the odds, in the bookies odds, is it? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I think it's manipulation because if you play crap in the run up to a big, massive tournament, your price kind of slides. And that's what I honestly think. I mean, I didn't actually get my answer from Ben because they haven't got to my question yet. So I'll have to go back to it because I've shared it everywhere, same as like I've already shared the show everywhere as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
Interesting point, Paul. I can't see them trying to bring down the odds to get a better price, but what I can see them doing is probably protecting themselves because no one at this stage, so close to the World Cup, no one wants to get an injury. That could be one particular reason why it's not working out for England. It's an awful shame, I must say. But no, I didn't follow the match the other day myself. But no, I'd say it's more so in linked to protect themselves. But they're all playing for places. The places are up for grabs, and who Southgate is going to bring to the World Cup. They should be trying to play out of their skin to get into that on that plane to the World Cup. But that's my thoughts on it. I let the English lads answer this one though.
Do you want to go, Rich?
I don't know. It's an interesting thought, Paul. To be honest with you, it's something I hadn't thought of. To be fair, the way they've played over the Nations League thing, it would have probably been better to give all these fringe players who are fighting for a World Cup squad place rather than just keep going with the the set 11, 12. Sort of players every single international window. But to be fair, I don't know. They might have revised tactics a bit more, just as Daz mentioned about giving lads a bit of they're that concerned about missing the World Cup that they're not committing 100% to tackles or tactics. I don't know, but it's an interesting thought, Paul. I must admit, but I wouldn't like to think that international players were doing it deliberately. But to be fair, we haven't won anything since 1966, so that might be one of the reasons why they have to put the prices up or something, Paul, just to it makes a bit of an attractive proposition potentially for the World Cup. But I don't know what do you think, Chris? You're the loaded betting expert here, mate.
Do you know what? Just while you were all talking, then I had a quick look at the market for the World Cup 2022, and to be fair, I'd say we're actually probably higher up than what I would personally put us. I mean, obviously, you boys tell me otherwise, but Brazil are 92 favourites, and then we've got France who are 5-1, and then we've got England at 13-2. Followed by Argentina at 7-1, Spain at 8-1, Germany 9-1, Netherlands 12-1, and Belgium 14-1, and so on. But it's you know what, Paul? It's an interesting theory because you could argue, maybe not from a betting perspective, but certainly from an opposition perspective. Because all the other nations, let's say, the World Cup starts and let's say we come up against, a Spain or a Holland or an Argentina, they could look at this nation's form and think, oh, bloody England's we'll roll these over. That won't be a problem. I think the biggest frustration for me, and anyone who watches this channel knows I'm not the the most patriotic or the most biggest England fan ever. But for me, from the outside looking in, the biggest frustration from my point of view is the fact that this was an opportunity, one, for Southgate to actually trial other players, other positions, other formations. And then I think it was when he came out and said, I pick players on form, I pick players who are playing football, and then he proceeds to then pick Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire and then start them both in a game. I just think there's so much talent out there, and there's so many players who've really kind of rose up the ranks recently. You know, like your Ivan Toney, players like that who could have had an opportunity in this Nations League, especially for the last couple of games, because from what I gather, we've been relegated. Not quite sure what that means.
Yeah, we're in the league. We're in B League now, Nations League B.
Right. Okay. So if that's the case, then against the Germans, why not throw a few youngsters in, or give a few debuts to people, and try these players out on the big stage and see if they can cope with it. But instead, playing the likes of Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, even to a degree, the likes of Foden and players like that. He knows what he's going to get from those players, so I don't really see what he's benefiting. Like that Germany game, I saw the lineup and I thought, well, I get why he's playing Harry Kane, because obviously he wants to get as many goals as he can, and I understand that. But playing certain players who the job they're going to do, Declan Rice, for example, what Declan Rice is going to provide you. You know that he's probably first choice, and he'll be one of the first names on the team sheet for that World Cup squad. So I just question. Surely it's the players on the fringe who you would be trying and testing out. But that's just my opinion. But I think it's an interesting point you make, Paul. And I think there could be some method in the madness there. It really could.
Well, to be fair, Chris, the thing is, it's like the price was they were joint second favourites with France at 5-1 originally. Okay. So the price has drifted because of how shit they've been. But I think that, to me, that's just how shit they've been, full stop. Not because we've let them. But I agree, and obviously I brought it as well. I think the perfect example for this Nations League, once the World Cup had been, qualification was secure, is your players who you're going to be set take to the World Cup for sure. What happens if any of those got injured in the Premier League or whatever? You should, like when you used to have, we'll all be old enough to remember this, when you used to have England B teams, and you used to have. Why there should be that pool of players who you're trying out in case there's an injury. Not then, obviously, as you mentioned there, Chris, about Ivan Toney. He's been in the squad, but he's been around it, but he hasn't been any game time. So what benefit? What's that benefit going to be if he has to be thrust into it in a quarter final against France, for example, which who we could play if everything goes to plan, sort of thing. This Nations League campaign should have been all about the fringe players that who'll be fighting for the places. And then they'll still turn up in these international, technically, glamorous international friendlies. That's basically what the Nations League is. The big downside of being relegated, and I know Andrew put it in the chat as well, is the fact that when the Euros are drawn in February, we might not be classed as one of the ranked teams now, because obviously the ranked teams are all from Nations League A. So, that might mean we get a harder draw for the Euros, depending on obviously how the ranking system goes, but also how our World Cup turns out as well. So. But sorry, Pete. I don't know if you want to go out, mate.
Just before we go to Pete, I like that. You'll fall into the same category as Ireland's group in pool 3 or 4, pot 3 or 4 when it comes to the draw. It's great fun, those draws for in international football. But and just Richie, when you were talking about the England B team, you weren't referring to Ireland there, I hope, in that one. I guess not.
No, that would have been Northern Ireland was the B team and Republic's the C team.
C team. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, we go to Pete, and I think he's managed to fill that glass completely. Was there any room left in that glass, Pete?
Yeah. There's room. Don't worry. Look, I hope that they're feigning some sort of poor form to be able to turn it on in the World Cup, because what I saw yesterday was a shambles. If I'm honest with you, it was embarrassing. It was a hard watch. Both games have been a hard watch, and I'm talking from a perspective of, I've been an England club member. I've been to a World Cup. I've supported England up and down the country over a number of years, and that's probably along with under Roy Hodgson at times and under Steve McLaren some of the worst football I've seen. And that team, that squad of players, don't deserve to be playing as poorly as that. It's very, very clear that the England team are not playing to its strengths. You've got a defensive setup with a very attacking-minded players, and it's not fit for purpose, and something's got to give at some point. So for me, I hope it's feigning bad performances to turn it on in the World Cup, but I don't see it that way. Personally, I think it was really, really bad. Harry Maguire cannot feign a poor performance like that. He's been putting those performances in for the last year. I hate to say it, and it's another talking point. I thought Nick Pope was dreadful yesterday. I thought he had a really, really bad game. Look, before people jump on it doesn't affect Newcastle United. He's been excellent for Newcastle, and I fully expect him to be excellent at the weekend. But it looked like he was nervous. It looked like the nerves got to him. It looked like he had a really, really poor game. And you know, that flapping at the end that gifted the goal to Havertz just typified that. The bookies and stuff, I don't really know too much about it, and I don't really kind of like know my stuff. That's Chris's bag for sure. But I just think that with England, they've either got to change the way they play, otherwise they'll probably struggle to make it out the group stage. But just touching on what Richie said about some of those fringe players, some of those fringe players have walked away from the international break wondering, would it have been better to stay at my club and maybe go on holiday with the family than actually waste their time training day in, day out over the international break to not even kick a ball? People like James Ward-Prowse, people like Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney must have been buzzing to get called up for the international squad and didn't kick a ball. That says to me that it's very clear that Gareth Southgate didn't want to pick him. And it goes back to the point, I do believe that if Callum Wilson had played regularly for Newcastle, he would have been picked ahead of Ivan Toney, and you know what, he would have played ahead of Ivan Toney and would have got minutes on the pitch. So for me, I just think that England are a bit of a mess at the moment, which is horrible to say, seeing as we got to the Euro final just over a year ago. We are in a bit of a mess.
Pete, I just want to touch on that before. Obviously, I know we've got other people in the green room, but everyone's turned around saying Southgate's doing shit and this, that, and the other. Obviously, if say for example the FA decided to pull the trigger and get rid of him, who was there to replace him? There's nobody out there who I could turn around and realistically think. Well, I know Steve Bruce is always up for a challenge, isn't he? But we don't want to be lower than the Republic of Ireland, Dad. You know what I mean? We need to keep that higher echelons of international football if we can, mate. But no, seriously, who do you think would replace him? There's nobody else I can think. I don't think Poch gets rumoured around for all these high profiles, but I can't imagine him wanting to do international football. So who is it? Graham Potter could have been talked about, but he's got to Chelsea. You can guarantee the name we don't want mentioned. Our gaffer, he might be thrown in the mix, but you would like to think he wouldn't take it. So who would then replace him? No one.
How is the only one? How is the only one that they will want? I guarantee you. And I said it ages ago, right? Even before the turnaround, I said the one thing I was worried about with Newcastle United getting Eddie Howe is that if he turned it around, he would be the next in line for England. They're looking at English managers at the moment, so him and Potter would be the priority. Potter being at Chelsea and just taking the job at Chelsea would mean that he wouldn't give up that job, because that job at Chelsea is almost like a once in a lifetime. He won't, if he doesn't succeed at Chelsea and win trophies, he probably won't get a similar job again, in my opinion. Although he's a good manager, I think that could potentially ruin him. And so I don't think he would sidestep to move to international football. I think this is why Eddie Howe got a new contract. His contract was secure. They could have given him another contract halfway through this season if they wanted to. They've secured him now with a bumper rise in wage, and also they would have put some release clauses in, some hefty release clauses in, which probably puts the FA out of reach, or will it, if they're desperate to get him, because he's the kind of manager that they want. They've looked at Eddie Howe and they've seen what he's done at Newcastle and how he's built the foundations at Newcastle in such a short space of time in the worst possible scenario, and look what he's done with us and where we're at and where we're looking at going. That's exactly what England are all about. You look at what Dan Ashworth did, who's also at Newcastle, at England. He built that from the ground up, and look what they're producing now off the back of that. They would want the same again. But I would like to think that he would want to continue to be part of the project. I would like to think that he would continue to want to be successful at club level. He's not a manager that would only want to manage a couple of games every 3-4 months. He's a manager that wants to be on the training ground every day. And I'm hoping that that's going to be the key to him staying at the club. Beyond that, and you know what? I think Maguire tweeted it out actually over the weekend after the first poor performance from England. And he mentioned it wouldn't be a bad thing if Southgate went before the World Cup, that Thomas Tuchel to be given a short-term contract to take England through the World Cup, to say, right, here you go, here's the squad, work your magic, because he's already proved in 6 months at Chelsea that he could go and win the Champions League and turn that team that was in 8th place at best and turn them into Champions League winners, that he could potentially do the same with a better squad and produce attacking football. I didn't think that was a bad shout, personally. And he's still.
Do you know what, Pete? That's a great shout, because Tuchel was playing a 3-4-3, which Southgate's been playing, because he likes to play that 3 at the back, doesn't he?
Yeah, and to be fair, with that current squad of players that England have got, we can only play 3 at the back, because we already know that Harry Maguire can't play in the 2. Stones struggles in the 2, and then you have to try and fit Kyle Walker in somewhere, because you've got four right backs in the squad. You've got to fit him in as a centre back, otherwise, where are you going to play him? So it's the only formation that works for England in this situation. So I didn't think that was a bad shout. And I'll be honest with you, going into World Cup, I don't feel confident right now as an England fan. But if you put Thomas Tuchel in there and said, right, give us a tournament over in Qatar and show us what you're all about, I tell you what, it wouldn't just lift the fan base, the England fan base, it would lift the players. It would give us a completely different outlook on how we go into that tournament, 100%.
I said,
who would you have, Paul?
Say again?
Who would if you could pick a New England manager, so say Southgate got sacked tomorrow, who would your pick be? If the FA said to you, Paul, get us a new manager, who would that new manager be?
Wow, that's a rocket hard one, that one, like. Damn. No, nothing like putting us on the spot.
You can't say Eddie Howe if you want. If you're not a Newcastle fan, obviously.
Well, I'm up at St James's on the 8th, so there's your answer there. But let me get. Not sure if Rafa would.
Ooh,
good shout.
Good shout.
Yeah, he's got the thing, but would he go to the national team? That's my thing.
I'd say give it a shot for a tournament for sure. Yeah. Do you remember? Wasn't there talk that Spain wanted him for a tournament as well at one stage when he was managing Newcastle?
And actually,
yes, I think so. Yeah.
Do you think another name to throw in the mix? Do you think Mourinho would take it?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he's a gutsy bloke at the end of the day. Like, he's out in Roma, isn't he? In Italy.
Yeah, he's at Roma.
Yeah.
But I watched them on BT Sport, and it does look a bit boring football. Not like Florentina. They're really banging in. But yeah, Mourinho, he could he'd do what Fergie did at Manchester, wouldn't he? Get the old boot if you're playing crap and chuck it across the room. But yeah, I mean, he can be bad tempered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day that the performance and everything, all these different crap tactics, is going to change. Maybe the first 2 games of the World Cup, the players switch off from the crap that they've been doing and do something, to make the country proud. Because I mean, you've seen what the lasses did in London. I mean, Gordon Bennett. If the lads could do that, I'm definitely heading back to London. But I'm not driving in the city centre. They're bonkers down there. I'll take the tube.
You'd be mad to.
Well, I mean, I went down for the protest march, and to have that many expensive cars doing what they did, trying to crash into us. Nah, I'll just take the train. It's easier.
Paul,
Brilliant.
thanks a million for joining us tonight. We've got two more guests in the green room, so we're going
Thanks
to
for being on.
go for them next.
Lovely.
Thanks for coming on, Paul. Hopefully we see you back
Cheers,
on
Paul.
again at some stage. And thanks
Yeah.
for always supporting us as well, Paul.
Yeah, much
Talk to you
appreciated, mate.
That's the best thing about it. You know, it's not just sharing you as a YouTube. It's because you're the individual people. So I share to the people. It's the best way.
Cheers, Paul.
Cheers, mate. Talk to you soon,
Take
Paul.
care.
Take
Have
care.
a good evening.
mate.
Bye-bye. That was Paul. And Paul's first time on the channel. Great
Yeah.
having him on. Let's bring on our next guest. Are you ready? Fan favorite. He's back. No, Sam, I'm not talking about you. It's Jimmy.
Yay!
Jimmy!
Hey,
Welcome, Jimmy.
where's my DX music?
Oh, yes, Jimmy. Yes, legend.
Okay, we'll find some music. We'll find some music for you, Jimmy. Don't know.
Probably the Run DMC version, though, Jimmy.
Oh, that's fine.
We'll probably get the channel shut down, but yeah, we'll try and sort it out.
Oh my God, what is that?
That is crap, isn't it? That's very bad.
That's definitely not DX music.
No.
No, no.
Oh,
Sit back, listen to you guys whine and cry about England and Southgate. You didn't have to sit there and watch 45 minutes of the worst football you've ever seen from the U.S. team. Oh, they're playing Saudi Arabia and they can't even break them down. It's pathetic. We're 3 and out. You know, we're going to get a participation trophy and go home. It's garbage. I'd love to have your problems. Like,
So would I, Jimmy. So would I.
I keep
now
forgetting.
Republic
Yeah.
into the league, guys.
Have they?
Yeah.
I checked out supporting Ireland after McCarthy left the second time.
To be fair, they already played Armenia, like, though.
Oh, yeah. There's still time to lose. Don't worry.
oh God. Yeah, we're not quite at those depths yet. So
Yeah, at
But
least
we
you've
will
qualified for the World Cup. The Republic don't know what that feels like.
well, I mean,
It has been a while, right?
Exactly.
yeah, but just anybody. I mean, Ireland could qualify from CONCACAF. Come on, your road's a little harder than what the U.S. is.
I don't know.
Okay.
The Republic could, struggle in the CONCACAF, though. Jimmy. I think US might be all right against them.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, of course, but the Irish have wilt in the heat. So I mean,
Yeah. It's a project. It's a project, and it's one I'm not really following. One project is enough for me to follow. The one I'm interested in.
okay, back on course. All right.
Go on then. Talk to us
Go
about
for it, Jimmy.
Newcastle. What's your point? What's the point you want to raise?
About Newcastle.
Yeah.
Should ban our players from playing international friendlies. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. It's just crazy. And, right when we get ready to have a full squad, something else happens. It's just, it just shows once again the need for some quality depth. But with that being said, I'm so looking forward to this weekend. get out of this international mode.
Absolutely.
I'm interested to see if Wilson plays. I'm really interested to see how long he'll go. But on the other hand, I'm really interested to see what Mitros can do.
I'm not.
Neither am I.
And who, and you know, who's going to start in the back? I'd love to see Botman.
Jimmy, just on a side note, have you seen how glorious Botman looks tonight for the awards? Have you seen the
How
picture
dare.
online?
Oh yeah.
Bond villain.
He looks a dream.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
Bond villain.
Yeah.
Someone get
saw
Keith
your-
Roll on the phone. He needs to
He
sort out Botman there.
just needs the white cat, doesn't he? He could be Blofeld, couldn't he?
I know.
Oh, what a man.
I saw Pete's tweet with this on. Pete was like popping a chubby over this right here. So.
I love it, dude. Love it.
Oh man. Oh, Chris Hall.
Hey, mate, it's
Long
like
time no
old times.
see.
It's like old
I
times.
know.
Yeah,
Brandy and Blaze.
I know. We're back. We're back.
Richie, your mic sounds a little better.
Thank you.
And the little Irish Smurf. So how are you?
Smurf.
Glad to be back.
God, hey, Martin never called me a Smurf. He called me little, and he never even met me. But he never called me a Smurf. Thanks, Jimmy.
It's all that blues, ass. It's all that blues.
Yeah.
I know you're probably like 6'5", but you know.
Not close.
Yeah, put the numbers the other way around. You'll probably get more like that, right, Daz?
Hey, still a foot taller than you, Richie.
You wish.
So, what's the word on ASM for this weekend?
Wow.
We're unsure, aren't we? I think we're unsure. I mean,
There was an update.
I don't know about you boys, but
What?
sorry, go on, Pete. Go on, Pete.
No, I was going to say there's an update from Craig Hope tonight. There's some positive news. So, Jimmy, I don't know if you've heard this, but he said that Wilson and Bruno are fine for the weekend, so they're definitely in. He said that ASM is possibly off the bench at the weekend. Elliot Anderson is back in training today, or was back in training today. So he's looking like he's going to be back. No word on Botman. So I'm just assuming off that he's going to be in the squad. The only one they've said they've got concerns about is Isaac. Now he's got a thigh injury, and that's what's kept him out of the Sweden squad. They said apparently it's not serious, but they haven't put a time frame on it. So in my mind, I'm looking at potentially a little bit like Bruno if he's rested this week. He's had 2 weeks effectively because he did train after he got injured early on in the on international duty for Sweden. So he's had effectively 2 weeks. If he has another week after this week, potentially Brentford, maybe. I don't know what you guys think. Potentially in coming back from a thigh injury, depending on how severe it is. That's nearly 3 weeks worth of kind of rest. So it doesn't sound, and I don't know what you guys think, but in my mind, I'm going into this weekend, I'm thinking a straight swap Wilson for Isaac. We're getting Bruno and ASM back. It's not as bad as what it seemed. Am I wrong to think that? I don't know. Well, what do you think, Jimmy and lads? What do you think about that?
Well, I feel a lot better after hearing that. I mean, ASM, that's nice. He's coming off the bench. Maybe he can justify, he made that stupid dance video on a move he stole from Usher like 20 years ago. I mean, if you're going to look that ridiculous, you might as well get out there and play.
Yeah, good point.
French can't dance, okay? That's just the way it is.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, Pete, I read that little report from Craig Hope as well, and it is looking more positive. Like, I guess we'll all be waiting on that team sheet, and yeah, you imagine that if ASM is on the bench, that it'll be only really if we need him that he would come on. But good to have him there. Eddie Howe wouldn't put him on the bench if he wasn't capable of coming off it. And as well as that, like with Bruno coming back, I wonder will you just give him 60 minutes or will he give him the full game? It probably limit him as well and kind of ease him back into it. So hopefully we start well and we're not like chasing the game towards the last half an hour, and then we could run into like disaster scenario where we start the players are going back, start going off again, and then we're in trouble. But hopefully.
Was there any news on Shelby, lads?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Go on, Daz. Go on.
Yeah, no, he said that Shelby is coming back earlier than expected than the original duration that he's going to be off for. He's probably not going to be ready to go in yet, but we will see him back. So then that really justifies what Eddie Howe putting him in the 25-man squad then that time. So he obviously knew well that he had an idea that he might be back quicker than expected, and that is brilliant for us because you know what that means. That would mean when Shelby can play, then Bruno moves up a bit further in the pitch, and that's where our dynamic gets better again. So it'd be nice to have a bit of that before the break for the World Cup.
And I really hope there's no hangover with Pope after that disastrous third goal.
Well, he's been great for us, though. He's been great for us. I mentioned it earlier when Paul was on. I don't know what you guys think, but I just thought he looked nervous. He just looked really nervous with his feet in the air. With Newcastle, he's been so commanding, and his stats prove that he's been one of the best keepers in the league. I just think
he's got the highest ratings of the Premier League so far, Pete. Yeah. There's only Jordan Pickford who's the number one just behind him, but he's been head and shoulders with any of the goalkeepers in the Premier League this season. It's just, I don't know. Is it because he feels like it's an audition in a way for that, to be back up for Pickford sort of thing, and he put himself because England aren't playing well. If your team's playing well like Newcastle have been, yes, okay, we haven't had the results, but we've been playing well defensively. We've been sound, so you can gain that confidence. The minute the confidence is shot through that England squad at the minute, so it's probably let's just hope it doesn't any detrimental effect on him, because the sooner he can get back to around the training ground and around Eddie Howe and get that confidence instilled back in him, which we all I'd rather him have a bad game in either a friendly or in England international or whatever. But if he comes back on for Fulham on Saturday, and even if he's like a man of the match performance, which hopefully he doesn't have to get to that point of view, because that means we'll probably be not the best on the day. But he's always reliable, sort of thing. So if you probably want from him, like a good early save, or something, or he's swept up well at the back or something like that, or one of his long throws to get Newcastle on the break. His distribution not that way, just something like that, just to take an early demand and dominate and catch, just to instill a bit of confidence. And I think he'll be fine. He seems to play with it. I think he's been playing better for Newcastle than I ever saw him play for Burnley, and I think he had some good games for Burnley.
Yeah, and Ian McKenna makes a great point, when he says any keeper would struggle with Maguire in front of him. So it is worthwhile remembering that the Newcastle back four, certainly since Eddie Howe's come in, has been incredibly solid. And I think it's fair to say he's playing. I think last night he played with a back five, or depends on how you want to phrase it. But new people in front of him, different formation. You just don't know, do you? But I did have a little bit of sympathy with him with that shot, because it got fizzed into him, and yes, he should have done better with it. Yes, he should have kept hold of it. But sometimes these things happen, don't they? And it's about how you bounce back. If he goes on a really poor run of form, then that's not great. But if he comes back and has a really good performance against Fulham, it puts him firmly back in the window, I think.
I was shocked that Ramsdale never got a sniff in those two games. Was he injured, or Southgate just
No,
chose to go with Pope.
Southgate prefers Pope over Ramsdale.
And rightly so.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a better goalkeeper. Like I think, Chris, you made a really good point, and you talked about the fact that England play 3 at the back. Newcastle don't. They play 2 at the back, and we play a higher line, a much higher line than England do. So if you watch the England games, their 3 centre-backs literally sit on Nick Pope. He doesn't want that. He wants space in between. As you said, Chris, he's a sweeper keeper. He likes to come out and sweep the ball and nick the ball when they play it over the top from deep. He's that type of goalkeeper. And if you've got 3 centre backs that are constantly sitting on you, it doesn't just affect the way you play. It narrows down your options that you can play. So for me, playing in that system does not suit Nick Pope at all. And going back to Newcastle and playing with the likes of Byrne, Botman, Shaw in front of you that are 1, comfortable on the ball, but 2, play a higher line, he will just feel right at home all over again. And I don't think this is going to affect him at all.
I think the other thing you can see on that, though, Pete, is if you look at that back 3 that started last night, right, there's not one of them really that, I know you're a big fan of John Stones, but I think you need leaders. There's no leaders in that back 3. You look at, Newcastle, you've got Trippier who constantly talks to his defence, his keepers, and everyone around him and reassures them. The one person who's probably been the best centre-half in a back 3, and they left him on the bench, was Conor Cody. He's renowned for being the solid centre of the back 3. He's a leader as well. You just don't understand. I know, like, Eric Dyer is playing well, but then if that's the case, bring him in and drop Harry Maguire. Because Cody's been playing well. I know, obviously, Chris will verify this. I've watched Everton the last couple of games. Cody and Tarkovsky look a bit more solid recently. So he's playing in good form. So if he's supposedly picking players on form, which he is with Dyer, then surely Cody should be playing in there. But then obviously you look at
he's shit.
Yeah, but he's
another Everton piece of shit.
Amen.
But again, do you know what?
Amen.
In all seriousness, though, Richie does raise a great point, because you've got Conor Cody playing week in, week out at Everton, who haven't been playing great, have been, struggling of late, but they seem to have turned a little corner, and instead he picks Harry Maguire, who can't get anywhere near the starting 11. Why?
But this is why. Sorry, go on, Jimmy.
Oh, Maguire was just terrible. I mean, there's no way he should be started for England. I know Southgate likes to pick his boys, but come on. If Bellingham's not starting, it's a travesty. And if Maguire is starting, that's a travesty. You're out in 3 games. That's the only chance US has against England, is if Maguire's on.
Yeah.
How many more times is Maguire going to keep getting chances, though? I mean, Eric Ten Hag's come into Man United. He's, he kept with Maguire as captain. He started the first couple of games, and then he just bombed him out. And since Man United's form has picked up, it's because Harry Maguire's not on the team. And then England, go and, they've got 2 games there, 2 pretty pointless games, if I'm honest. Why not throw Conor Cody in? Why not throw, I don't know, whoever else was in the squad, or any youngsters, any people who've been playing well and been given an opportunity? Why throw Harry Maguire in? Because what are you learning from that? Oh yeah, he's still shit. It's not just
that though, Chris. You got to look at Luke Shaw played last night. He's not getting a game from Man United.
Exactly.
But you've got Ben Chilwell on the bench, or they've played Saka, who's not like a left wing back. He's not. He needs to be one of those front 3. I still don't understand how the fact that, and I know Jamie O'Hara actually mentioned. I was surprised by. He's saying, why aren't people looking at Dan Burn? He's been outstanding. Yeah. He can play as that left set of the 3, which obviously he wants to play. And even, if you've got someone like, I know, like, obviously Jimmy's not a fan, and because he's playing for Everton now, but if you've got Conor Cody alongside him, and even if you wanted to go and play Trippier in where Kyle Walker's been playing, that's a pretty solid back 3. If you're going to play that sort of system. But You know, it is what it is. You know,
but Richie, this is the problem. This is what England's all about. Is that you're not talking about what's best for England. You're talking about players that traditionally play for top clubs. And that's what it's all about. So you're playing a Harry Maguire that can't get in a Man United team, who's had a shocking season so far, and you're playing a John Stones, who I still rate as a player, but can barely get in the squad and kick a ball at Man City. And you're persisting with those players that are not fit, that are not playing regularly, both come off the pitch with injuries, and you're wondering, well, why has that happened? Well, that's why it's happened, because they're not being picked for their clubs. And they're not playing regular football, but because they're at Manchester United and Manchester City, that's why they're getting picked. Whereas Dan Burn plays at Newcastle, although we're on the rise, we're not at that traditional top club at this moment in time. And Connor Cody's at Everton; they're not those traditional type of players, and this is why Matt Targett didn't get picked in March. He should have been in the England squad. There was no England left backs, and he still didn't get picked. And he was playing.
He fixed 5 right backs.
Yeah, and you know, this is what I was going to refer to before when Chris was making his point. Is you're talking about Erik ten Hag, who I actually rate highly as a manager. I think he's a fantastic manager and will eventually, if given the tools, do well at Man United. There's levels between the managers, because Erik ten Hag is a manager that goes, you know what? Yes, you're my captain. Yes, we paid 80 odd million for you, but you're not good enough, so you're on the bench. And there you go. And he plays Martinez and Varane, and all of a sudden things are better.
Yeah.
Whereas Gareth Southgate is too afraid to drop the players that he's relied on for the last 3-4 years. And this is the kind of result and performance that you're getting. You're getting a John Stones that's not fit. You're getting a Harry Maguire that's making silly mistakes and costing penalties. You're getting you look at some of the other players in the team that are not playing well. And you think to yourself, well, why are they even getting picked? And they're getting picked because he's persisting with players and not choosing players that are in better form. And this is what good international managers do. It's not just about that fantastic 11 that's in the team, that dream 11, the golden years. Like I said, I was at the World Cup 2006, and we had the golden years, probably the best England squad, or certainly best 11 of my lifetime, to go into that World Cup, and they didn't perform because they persisted with those players regardless. And actually, there were probably better players in better form that they didn't choose ahead of them. And this has always been an age-old problem with England. And we thought Gareth Southgate was going in a different direction, but it proves.
The funny thing is, though, Pete, the funny thing I don't understand about him is he's ruthless with some players, but he's not with others. Like, obviously, he's standing by Luke Shaw. He's standing by Harry Maguire, who aren't playing. But then you've got Jadon Sancho at the same club who's come in under Ten Hag, and Ten Hag's now getting a tune out of him at Man United, but he can't get back in there. You know, he's ruthless with Sancho. He's ruthless with Rashford, but he just doesn't seem to. But he's loyal to his defenders for some stupid reason, which is you can't be at international football. But it would be right to see the same treatment of those defenders at the same club as those two of the players who, they had a couple of bad games, they're not on the team, bang, that's it, you're out. It should be exactly the same for Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw as it is for those two, in my opinion.
And do you know what, Rich? You're right, because you've got, we've mentioned Dan Burn, we've mentioned Matty Targett, obviously we watch them week in, week out. Pete, I know you've spoken about this player before and you rate him highly, and I do too. I think he's playing really well. You've got Tyreek Mitchell at Crystal Palace, a left back. You've got Kyle Walker-Peters at Southampton, who's been playing really well at left back, by the way.
I love him.
And you think, so what? Surely he needs to kind of, get into his dressing room, get into his coaching room or whatever, have serious and frank conversations with certain players and just say, listen, I'm really sorry, but I'm going with these lads, because picking 5 right backs, that's not going to get you anywhere. He's got a conundrum with Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's got a conundrum with Reece James. He's got Kieran Trippier. He's got who are the other possibilities at right back? I've named them 3. Who are the other?
Did you say Trent?
Yeah, Trent. So we've got Trent,
Walker.
Trippier,
Walker,
Trent, Trippier,
Walker,
Reece James,
Walker.
He's gonna have to drop a couple of them. He's gonna have to.
For me, and I said it. I think I said it to you, Chris, before. I think this is Kyle Walker and Trippier's last tournament. I don't think they see regular England football after this. I personally think this will be it for them, purely for age. But I think this would be the right time for them to step away. I would much rather Kieran Trippier focus on Newcastle United and being fit for us and playing regularly for us than trying to force his way into England. I would much rather him save himself for us personally. But I think Kyle Walker is at that age where he's starting to slow down a little bit, and I think it would probably be better to move forward. But the problem is that, and we might not see this, is that Gareth Southgate, if he continues as manager after the World Cup, he'll consistently leave Trent out of the team. For me, you can't leave Trent out of the team because of what he gives to you in an attacking sense. He's a very, very good player. And it baffles me why he doesn't get more minutes. It just doesn't make sense to me. Forget the defensive side of things. We have one of the best attacking set of players in world football at international level, but we're not utilising them. And this goes down to the point that we made about the manager is not good enough. He's just not good enough at this level.
Just to bring Jimmy back into the conversation, because Jimmy, both you and I couldn't give a shit about England. Great conversation and great talking points. We couldn't give a shit. Jimmy, what do you think the score will be at the weekend against Fulham?
2-1.
2-1. Toast.
I'm not going to say who. It's just 2-1.
Don't do that to me, Jimmy. Come on.
No. Newcastle.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, we need a win.
Don't like to hear.
We need a bit of a win.
We do. It's been a while since I've seen 3 on the board.
Yeah,
3 points. That is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a nice team photo again. Just we haven't seen that for a while.
We haven't. Yeah.
But Jimmy, I think we're going to say goodbye to you and enjoy that sunshine. It looks nice there where you are.
Yeah, it's a little cool though. It's like 70.
Oh.
You just winded us up. You winded us up wrong.
No, it was 86 yesterday, and now today. So the days of the warm weather are over. So
such a shame for you. It's been chucking it down all day today where I am.
Yeah, here too.
I mean, I need my sun for stay golden brown, you know. I got fans in the tune, you know. Ladies out there, they can't let them down.
I love it, Jimmy.
On that note, Jimmy, we're definitely going to say goodbye to you. Thanks for coming on, Jimmy. We talk to you the next time.
Cheers, Jimmy.
Stay safe. Take care.
Speaking of a ladies' man, there's only one other man that could pull off this look.
He's already shaking his head, Daz. He's already shaking
I don't care if he's shaking his head, but with this look, there'd be ladies either side of him. And that's our Samuel Chips. Welcome, Chippers.
Here he is.
Hello.
Hello, Chippers.
Oh, yeah, boys.
He's lost for words.
You were waiting patiently there, Sam. So fair play to you. You're on for a while.
I think you've what you call it, bigged us up a bit too much there.
And if you're going to start talking about England, your time here would be short-lived. So go on. What have you got for us?
Well, that's what I was going to follow on about, to be honest, because I'm still.
Thanks, Sam. Jesus, no,
I'll try and do a mixture, you know, rather than all on one. I'll start with England, since we've all been talking about it. Again, I'll go on about loyalty and disloyalty, the fact of why he's sticking up for his favourite players, and to me, he didn't really stick up for Pope last night after making a mistake when Maguire's made countless. Luke Shaw's made countless mistakes, even Southgate himself's made countless mistakes and he's not owned up to them. And just, I I don't understand. Like I watched the highlights. Like I heard Joe Cole speak on the highlights last night, and he seemed to go on as if we were so brilliant and Southgate's this, he's this, and I'm thinking, have you missed the last 5 games before this? Because we've up until the 70th minute last night again we were twatful. It's just I don't like. Every team that plays us now, we are the boy. Like, remember when Newcastle would turn up, like, say, for example, when Sheffield United didn't win a game and it was Newcastle, yeah, we're going to give them their 3 points. We seem to be that World Cup, like the world team now that does that because Germany just, yeah, they won 5-2, beat Italy, but we've just played Italy who got spanked 5-2. We couldn't even score against them, never mind. I mean, we couldn't create a chance against them, never mind do anything. And then we've played Germany, who, let's be honest, they're not the team they were. And last night, we shouldn't have got back in that game. We should have been 3 or 4-0 down before we even got a chance to come back in that game because Werner missed a couple of chances, Havertz missed a couple of chances. And then the other lad missed, what was his name? He did a couple of runs and he slotted one wide. I can't remember his name.
Mussolini.
Yeah, that was him. He ripped us apart defensively, and I don't see how people are being so positive. I know, like, because we know what team he's going to pick. And in my opinion, I don't think Maguire will play for Man United again before the World Cup. I honestly think his next game will be the World Cup against Iran, because it's obvious to me he doesn't fancy him. Ten Hag doesn't fancy him, so why he's not going to play him, in my opinion. And then I just like we're going to go to a World Cup now with our team. We'll know our first team, but how good is our other replacements going to be? Because they haven't been given a chance. Likes of Tony, even Ward-Prowse to an extent, who might have to fill in some games if there's injuries or we don't know what they're going to be like because they weren't given a chance in these 2 games, which is what they should have been given a chance because that's what they were for. At the end of the day, I didn't say that. We're going in so unprepared to this World Cup, and we're going in again, like we have done every tournament seemingly, where he's picking players on reputation rather than performances and how good they are and how well they've played for their club. But as I said, this isn't the first time it happened going into the Euros with Gareth just there, and the World Cup, and the ones with Roy, and it's just a continual it's a domino effect. I'm sick of it. It's fair enough, you stand by people that do well for you, but they're not playing for their club. So that you said, I'm going to pick them on their performances, and you're lying all over. You might be the England manager, and you're lying to her. But on the positive side for Newcastle, it's good to see that we're going to possibly have, apart from Isak, nearly Isak and Shelby, a full-strength team on Saturday, which is, since the first game of the season, in my opinion, that we haven't really had one. So, and I'm glad in the ways that our players, apart from Trippier, I'm glad Trippier didn't play because the last thing we need would have been him getting injured. So, I'm saying that the swings and roundabouts is, I think England are just boring the shit out of me. But you know what? If Newcastle get 3 points on Saturday, which I think with the players coming back, I think we're capable of, then stuff them, because I know people say, but it's England, and but so what? They're boring. They don't, for me, it's club football before internationals. I know there's players who said, international football's all everything. It's not new. It's just boring. It's crap. It's dull. It's literally like watching paint dry. There's no enthusiasm about it. There's we're going in out of a major tournament thinking we're going to be out of possibly the group stages. How exciting is that? No, I mean, considering we're half an hour away from winning the Euros 2 years last year. Like I said, I think it works. Like I said, swings and roundabouts, because it means that our players, I mean, they've been around international duty, but they haven't played. So, excuse me, it's kind of like, it benefits our club still, even though, I mean, with the thing with Botman as well, not going away and putting Newcastle first is a good thing. So, if you get what I mean, it's kind of, him, Botman. Yeah, it's kind of like
him. That's him. Same guy.
He's literally Dr. Evil at night, isn't he? It's like it's literally benefiting us as a club now, because when we all said, like, when I said when like so Bruno and all that Isaac going away, I thought, oh. And then Craig Hope on Sunday had us all on strings by saying they're injured. And then today he's come out and said they go, apart from Isaac, they're all going to be in the squad. I mean,
yeah,
I'll take it though, Sam. I'll take it. The fact that they're all apart from Isaac are apparently going to be back in with a shout. But I just wanted to really quickly. You talked about is it Masela from Germany. Yeah. I don't know if you guys are aware, but he actually qualified for England.
Did he?
Yeah, he qualifies for England. And England, and he was actually quite set on becoming an England international, but England reacted so late to it, Germany snapped him up because he was obviously already playing in Germany. They snapped him up. So he could have been quite easily last night playing for England. And can you imagine him doing what he did in an England shirt? It's just typical that we lose another player like that just for the fact that we react again so late. Yeah, but that was just kind of a point that I just wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, and just one thing on what you were saying, Sam, about I'll link it back to the Newcastle stuff. Is yeah, that we could potentially be close to a full strength team, but the worry is like how fit they are. How like I imagine Eddie Howe will bring them back in gradually, like Bruno maybe 60 minutes, ASM maybe off the bench, and so on and so forth. And Wilson, yeah, you want to tread carefully with him. You know, everyone if he goes down, we're all going to go. Oh, you know, even our plan C is injured as well with Chris Wood. So yeah, it will be as well as wanting to win. It'll be also nervy watching if anyone goes down in that game because, as we said before, our bench is so poor, and it's going to take time to pack that bench out with quality over a number of transfer windows. But so we have to make do. We have to do with what we have and try and protect it. So I suppose don't be surprised if Bruno does go off early or whatever like that. I think because we have to kind of save him as well.
Yeah, I think well, obviously we haven't got a Cabbage as manager, so he's not going to throw them in injured as he knows what he's doing. And I see as well, we've hired a data analyst, I think, as well over the past 24 hours, so he may help with their fitness and know, key things that'll help us in the long term. So, but yeah, I mean, forget England now, their history now till the World Cup, and then it'll be all, doom and gloom again because we'll underachieve like we'll always do, or we'll get to a fluky semi-final or final because all of that teams we haven't played. But hopefully by then Newcastle are in the top 4 by the time we get to the World Cup and we're close to being the best team in the league. I mean, we're not that far off the top 4, really, if we're being realistic. So the grass is always greener on the other side.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
I was joking by the top 4, by the way. I wasn't being serious. I'm not one of these people who are over thing. I think where we are now is probably going to be a fair position for this season because of that's progress for me. I know we haven't. We should have obviously. I think won 2 or 3 more games, but again, the Bournemouth game was probably our worst performance of the season. And then before that, you could blame VAR because VAR ultimately decided games for us. So, but hopefully now, like I said, we've got all these players back. We can feel the almost full strength team, and yeah, I mean they've got Mitrovic, but you know what? He's not a. You know what? If he scores, he scores. It doesn't bother me. I don't know why people keep bigging him up and keep saying this and that about him. He's at his history. He's not part of the club anymore. He's gone. Let's worry about that they should be worrying about the fact we've got ASM and Wilson possibly coming back, and hopefully Miggy's got a bit of confidence from international duty as well.
Do you know what, Chippers? It's funny you're touching on that. We were talking about this pre-show as well. Over the past couple of weeks, especially, we've seen a lot of fans, mainly after the Bournemouth game, a lot of fans kind of maybe going into meltdowns, a bit of a dramatization, but a lot of fans are panicking. They're a bit worried. Obviously, we've only got one win on the board. We've been very unlucky with VAR. Obviously, we got beat last minute against Liverpool at Anfield. We managed to We managed to get a really good point at home against City. If you look at our fixtures, Brighton away, Wolves away, really, really tough games. Do you think, a lot of fans were a little bit underwhelmed by the transfer window? I think it's fair to say. Isak obviously helped towards the end, but if you look, and you touched on it then, about the data analysts, when it comes to backroom staff, so, in terms of the chief exec, in terms of, building the club from behind the scenes, I think we've done absolutely fantastically. But do you think that, given the transfer window, given the fact we've had a couple of injuries, the start to the season as a whole, are you kind of content with where we are now, or do you kind of feed into what everybody's saying on Twitter, about that, we're underperforming, we should be doing better? Like, where do you see Newcastle right now? Are you concerned going into this Fulham game, or are you open-minded about it?
I'm not concerned, because if we get beat, we'll get beat. We're used to losing as a club. We've lost. I mean, it's just the way I see it is. I think the way we're playing now, under Howe, no matter how bad, apart from the Liverpool game, let's be honest, we were unlucky not to get anything from it. So the way we're playing under Howe, we seem to play badly and we still get results. I'm not worrying at all. It's 1 week away from only the first year of the project. I mean, this time last year we hadn't won a game. Everybody was on the floor. We were odds on to get relegated. We were deflated. We were about to play Wolves, and then obviously everything changed after that. And I just think where we are now is progress, because we're not being seen as a relegation threatened club. People are starting to and the fact that what I've heard, but when Howe said in the press conference that teams don't want to deal with her, yeah, it might be down to the fact that it's Saudi money, but the fact is that teams know if they strengthen us, we're going to just leave teams behind eventually. We're going to kick on the right way. And I mean, it's like, I'm quite content where we are, because you've got to manage expectations and you've got to literally realise that this is a slower progress build because of certain things like FFP, whether they exist or not. It's just because Newcastle, but if we were like what Man City did, what Chelsea did back in the day when they had their takeover, where you could just buy who you could afford, we would be in a different position. I think we would be in the top 4 already, because they've got that much money. We would just get the players in that we required. I said at the start of the season, if we finish 10th, and then if we have a cup run to maybe a quarter or semi-final this year, that's progress for me, because it shows that we're not disregarding the cup competition as well, unlike the last 14 years where it's we either out of the 3rd round or 4th round, and then that's pretty much stay in the Premier League. Again, we're still in the League Cup as well, which is another thing. So again, there's 2 cup competitions we could still be in. Come the new year, touch wood. But it's again, I'm quite happy with it. I knew that life isn't Football Manager where you can't win every game. You can't, I won the double with Newcastle on Football Manager. Jesus, if it was that easy, do you think I'd be sitting here?
You could be the next England manager. There you go.
I could do a better job than Southgate, but I'll not blow my own trumpet. But yeah, it's people need to realise, against a lot of our players, aren't good enough still, that we've still got Deadwood here, and it's going to take 4 to 5 windows, I would say, to get carried all and have the side that Eddie Howe wants. Should he still be here? Of course, obviously, we don't know about England and what the future holds, but obviously he's got that contract, so I see him still being here in 3 or 4 years' time, unless if Southgate was to go after the World Cup, England pay massive dollar for him, massive pounds for him, because that's what it's going to take to get him.
Just something you said, Sam, and it was just made me go googling. The next you mentioned top 4, right? And you then I just thought, when is the next World Cup? So the next World Cup is on in 2026. It's only 3.5 years away after this current World Cup. It's on in Canada, Mexico, and the States. But by that stage, we should be in the top four. Just let that sink in as well. We should be
Yeah.
hovering in around top four and
Mm.
making Champions League. So that's something to look forward to. And it's stepping stone along the way, of course.
What's that like?
But,
What's that like? 6 transfer windows ish.
Yeah, 2 per season.
8, isn't it? About 8, 6 to 8.
Is that many?
Yeah,
7.
4 years.
Imagine that. Imagine that. Spending 50 to 100 mil over 6 years. Well, sorry, 6 windows. It's not bad.
Not bad. Right, Sam. We probably have to get back to that dinner date. So we'll say goodbye to you and say thanks for coming on, Sam. But great to have you on the show, and you've been a regular on the show back through the years as well. The years, how long have we been going? A year and a half. Thanks for coming on, Sam. And you'll miss Martin like us, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think obviously Shawshank takes priority, doesn't it? I mean, he must have all them prisoners that, what can I do, I mean, he does look like the warden of it. I'm telling you, he does look like the warden of Shawshank Redemption. You can say what you want, but he does. And he knows it. I tell you what. Obviously, Tim Robbins still must be in there, and so must, what's he called? Martin Freeman? No, I was going to say Martin Freeman, Morgan Freeman.
Sam, we'll say goodbye to you. Cheers, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Okay, mate.
See you later.
Bye. Back to this view for a sec. So we have that was Sam, of course. Always come to with good points. Great to have him on the show with us. And we have someone coming to make his debut tonight. Now I can only see a small picture here, but I recognize the face from Paul Tune Review Show. So welcome, Ryan.
Big
hey,
up,
Ryan.
Guys. Thanks for having me.
Ryan, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Great to meet you, buddy.
You're right.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Thanks.
Is that a Bayern Munich shirt in the background there, Ryan?
Alphonso Davies, yeah.
Oh, what a player! What a player!
I'm Canadian, so that's why.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, definitely have Alphonso Davies at the tune, mind.
Oh, 100%.
What's the other the striker, the Canadian striker that we talked about before?
Jonathan David.
Jonathan David, yes, that was it. And
yeah.
Now we're going for we've Isaac now, so we don't need to worry about him. But
I was begging for him to come to Newcastle because you know what too is that the Canada manager, he's from Newcastle, like the area actually.
Yeah.
John Herdman, he's Geordie.
Yeah, he is.
So it's a bit unique there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice one. So, what did you want to bring to the table to us today, Ryan?
Just a bit about, I guess, the Newcastle. I guess so. Like, briefly, I'll explain how I started supporting them. So it's back in 2014, whatever it was, when it was the last game against West Ham where we won 2-0 to like save us from relegation. It's my first ever Premier League game I watched, and Jonas Gutierrez comes on, and I see like the whole testicular cancer, he comes back, and honestly, from that point, like I just got glued into the club, and like it's kind of like they stole my heart almost kind of thing. Like I just couldn't get away from it. So like after that game, I spent like the whole summer like researching. I watched like every single True Geordie rant, and like I stuck by the club, and like I couldn't like it was something special. Like most people around here in like North America and worldwide too, like it's more about supporting like the bigger clubs almost.
Yeah.
So I like to call myself almost a unique supporter. So
I was going to ask you, Ryan. You just mentioned you obviously I remember the game well, and it was it was a really emotional game for the fans. Obviously, Jonas Gutierrez as well. He's that celebration when he wheeled off with his shirt off, and then obviously you did your research afterwards. So what was a part of the research that was afterwards that still made you fall in love with Newcastle? Bear in mind we were in this middle of this situation with halfway through the Mike Ashley era where everything was so dire for people who obviously hadn't experienced the Bobby Robson era and the Kevin Keegan entertainers era.
I think it was that era, honestly. Like I'm born in 2000, so like I wouldn't have been able to see that era. Like I would have.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
man.
I
For
first saw it.
God's
I
sake.
first. Yeah, I know. Like I missed it all, and like, what was it like? I think it was around like 2010 when they started actually broadcasting football in Canada. So like it was like La Liga games. So I was watching like when I've played football all my life too, and like I didn't know how global the game is because in Canada it's all about like basketball and hockey, right? So then like you do a bit of your research, and then you realize as a kid how big the sport is. Like I went from only knowing Messi, Ronaldo, and like Ozil and Benzema to like so much more, like a whole like catalog of leagues, a whole catalog of high quality players besides those. I think FIFA helped as well as, and like I just I fully got glued into like the sport even more, and like it's a bit of a strange and unique story of how I support Newcastle as well. Like I could have come on and just said here like my parents are from Newcastle, but they're not.
No, that's a great backstory, Ryan. To hear how you started supporting Newcastle. Of course, when we started on YouTube as well, we all had our own kind of backstory and how we came to support Newcastle. Because I live in Ireland, and I'm like, well, since being on YouTube, I found loads of more people around me actually that do support Newcastle. I'd have to drive a long way to find one, maybe even to Martin's house to find one at one station. No, it's great to hear that. But I wanted to ask you a question actually. While I have it open here, I had opened the groups for the World Cup, and since we were talking about international football a few minutes ago,
Yeah, we can go on that still.
So I see Canada are in the same group as Belgium, Morocco, and Croatia. How do you think they'll get on there?
I think we might be able to scrape through potentially, but I think honestly, I was confident as soon as we qualified because we're sky high. Like we're dominating CONCACAF football. The thing is now is that like we lost to Uruguay today, and like I didn't watch the game, but I saw like some Reddit forums and like just general opinions, and like it just seems that like the quality is just almost too much, and like I think if we're ever going to get through, Davies and David are going to have to carry us like a lot because the defense is like lower championship League One level, and the thing is with Davies too, like he plays left back for Bayern or as like a wing back. John Herman hasn't played as a striker for Canada with David and also Kyle Larin as well. So yeah, there's a few players and like the talent's going up in Canada. Like it's good to see, but just there's not much expectation as well. Like the other day, like Jonathan David scored against Qatar, and he actually covered the Nike badge because like Nike did this whole thing with new kits for the World Cup, but they didn't do anything for Canada. They revamped other country kits, but not ours, because almost the low expectation, like maybe the fact that we won't go too far in the World Cup. But I think as a neutral, you'd probably say like Canada and like Ecuador for me are like the dark horses in the World Cup, in my opinion. I think Brazil will win it all, in my opinion. So like it's all up in the air, and like the thing is that Qatar's like I live in Ontario, so I'm 5 hours behind you guys. It'll be 8 hours behind in Qatar, and like for my job as well, I'm gonna miss the game. So what I'm thinking about doing is just go in airplane mode the whole time working. When I get home, I'll record the game so I watch it when I get home.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea.
I haven't been able to watch the friendlies either because there's some subscription service that One Soccer's charging. Like I can't be asked with it. Like I've been watching the World Cup qualifiers were all on TV as well, but these friendlies aren't, and like I haven't really been able to watch them either.
Is that the England friendlies? Do you mean? Or just the friendlies in general?
No, like I could stream any friendly I want, but like the Canada ones, like they're on this site called One Soccer, and they're charging a subscription for it. And no, it's not for me. Like
That's maybe the one thing that we benefit from because we get those friendlies over here.
Yeah, we do,
Yeah.
and we don't even want to watch them, mind. Do you know what I mean?
I get them as well, and I don't want to watch them either.
If I didn't
The
thought,
ultimate disrespect, Ryan. I'm sorry. I apologize for Chris, but he's just like, yeah, we don't even want to watch him. Like, we don't even care.
I mean England, by the way. I mean England. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'd probably rather watch Canada, if I'm honest. Yeah.
you know what it is? If I didn't know you guys were going live and like I didn't know I could like come on, I probably would have been on Paul's because I usually go on his fan forums on Tuesday, and like I just I have a good friendship with Paul, so I just banter about England.
Yeah, Paul's a good guy. Of course, we've had him on the show a few times, and we've been on his show as well. Ryan, okay, question for you. Who is your all-time? So you started supporting Newcastle. That's while before the glory days of what we remember. So
yeah,
who is your favorite? Who's your favorite player that you've seen from the past, and your current favorite player?
The past. You know what? It's got to be probably Mikel Merino, even though he had such a short time.
Yeah.
I don't know why we sold him, man. Like he was a good player.
It was just literally down to the fact he had a buyout clause in his contract, Ryan. And
something about homesickness too.
Yeah, to be fair, he has stated he's reckoned he's got unfinished business in Newcastle. So you might see him back, in the future. But obviously, it all depends on the manager and stuff. That's all right. Someone's saying that, but
I'm trying to think. I liked Wijnaldum a lot when he was here for the 1 year.
Yeah, especially in the home games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with Mikel Merino, I think around the back end of the season, I think he expected to play, but it was almost like John Joe Shelby and the team. We had that great run at the back end of the season, and he couldn't get into the team because the team was undroppable because of the points we were picking up and how well we were playing.
Yeah, it was Shelby and Dialmi in midfield. I think he couldn't. It was an unstoppable midfield at the time.
And it was exactly that. And I think he played the one game that he started in was Watford away, and I think he scored in that game, but we lost. And it was almost like, okay, that was the game for you to produce your best football. And although he scored, we lost the game. So it was in Rafa's mind, it was kind of like, well, Shelby's been doing the business. We've been winning games. Diarme was literally like N'Golo Kante. He was unplayable.
He was like Prime Vieira, weren't he? He was everywhere.
He was unplayable. And I think there was almost everything fell in the wrong way in order for him to then want to leave. And like Richie said, because he had the buyout clause, which was ridiculous. I think it was like 10 million. Like it was the worst buyout clause you could ever have for a player of his ability at 23 years old. And he ended up leaving. But
so what happened when you got Lee Charlie doing the contract negotiations?
There you go. That's what you get when you got one man that's doing 7 different roles in the club. You end up getting a player that's probably worth, even at that point, was worth double or triple what we paid for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He got a steal from Dortmund too, and like the fact that he came from Dortmund too, like you knew he was going to be a special player because it's one of the best youth setups they have, and they sell for like big price too. Yeah. If we're talking about current player too, playing as right back like a decent level growing up, I'd say it's gotta be Trippier for me. Like the guy just oozes class, like everything, technical quality, awareness, football IQ, free kicks. He's got it all, and I'm glad he's our first sign since the takeover.
Yeah, I think when we brought him in, I know that we said he was probably going to be the most pivotal signing he has for Newcastle, because obviously it changed the direction of that transfer window. It was able to get people like Bruno in. We didn't think we'd be able to get people like Bruno in, and like Chris Wood. Yeah, you would expect to be able to get him. Dan Burn, you'd be able to expect to get him. Obviously, Joy Lad coming home and stuff like that. But Bruno, he's seeing that in England Nationals giving up Champions League football, was La Liga champion. That's where other people look and go, do you know what? There's something going on here. And Bruno, for a young lad, was able to see that. And, those two transfers probably pushed us probably a transfer window. Or I think me and Pete have talked about this before, where it probably put us a transfer window ahead of where we possibly would have been. But I think I agree, Ryan. It was, completely agree. It was the most important signing of that transfer window.
Yeah, you know what it is too. Like, what is it? Like, there was no relegation clauses installed in any of the contracts too, so the commitment right from day one as well. I think looking about it now, I'd have to say I think the signs in January were I think they're better almost, because it just raised us to another level. I think what it is now is we need a right winger. Like, I'm normally a patient guy. Like, you could go on all fan forums on Paul's channel. Like, I've been patient about the window, but now it's starting to bite us in the backside that we don't have a natural like right winger. Or I think we do. There's not the best of quality, and we're almost one-dimensional and too predictable going on the left side. And now, like, what is it? For me, like, I thought we'd finish 9th highest. I think with a fully fit squad, I think 9th, somewhere similar to what Leeds got when they first got promoted, like scoring goals for fun and getting to that level, right? But now with these injuries, it's almost like there's not enough quality, and like we're playing for like 0-0s almost. And it almost goes back to last half of the season too, where like, yes, we won a lot of games, but I feel like we won in moments as well. Like Brighton at home, I feel like we won the game in 10 minutes when they dominated the whole game, for example, at home. So I think for me, if somehow ASM or Anderson aren't fit, I think the 4-3-3 it just doesn't work, because you play that formation for wingers, right? And without that quality that they bring, almost like what's the point? Like, I'd probably argue maybe like, so go back to a wingback system. Like, it's almost like other than like a 4-3-3, it seems like a modern day way of attacking now and playing football at the highest level and achieving results.
Ryan, what would you? Okay, so you've said that it might not work, the formation that was set out at the moment, and you've given a formation that you kind of think that could potentially work.
Yeah.
Who would start in your alternative formation?
So for me, I'd go, I think, 3-4-3. So I'd put Botman, Byrne, Shar, and then I put Trippier and Target as wingbacks. I'd play a double pivot of Bruno. This might sound controversial, but I don't think Joe Linton could play a double pivot, so I'd probably put Longstaff. And then a front three of Almiron, Isak, and Wood. But I know that was me like a week or two ago. But then I heard that Chris Wood got like a broken rib on New Zealand. Is that official?
Yeah.
Some kind of injury anyway through his ribs.
Fractured rib, I think.
Fractured. Okay.
Don't know the severity. There's talk that he might still be able to play a part this weekend. So I think it all depends on how.
I'm also bringing up this formation too, because we used it against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge last season, and it worked well because I think we changed to that formation because I think John Joe Shelby had a last minute injury. So I think we played Bruno and Longstaff, and then a front three of Murphy, Almiron, and Wood. So something similar to that, but obviously that'd be the second choice for me. And like, that was a bit of my criticism at the Bournemouth game for me, is that yes, the bench isn't the greatest, but I feel like instead of just mixing it up and just throwing on like for like subs, I feel like you got to change something, like bring off a defender for another attacker. Because it's a strong opinion from all of us that we're out there to win the game. There's no way in hell we're going for a draw against Bournemouth at home. Like, no disrespect to them, but I think a formation change could have, it might not have benefited, but at least give it a try from Eddie Howe. Other than that, like, I'm all in for Eddie Howe. I think he's changed everything for us, and he's made players better. The fitness levels are better. He's, I think, just on the eye, like we're playing so much better football too, and it's what you want to see at times, especially like if you're not winning games, like we're putting in the effort to try at least. But I think performances suggest otherwise, that we should be higher on the table, but we're not because of certain circumstances, VAR, certain things like that.
So do you think, Ryan, do you think that you'd like to see more of a plan B sometimes from Eddie Howe? Is that what you're saying? If something, you'd be change in-game tactics, a bit more if we're struggling in certain ways?
Oh yeah, I think first of all, like a formation change, because like I said, like bring off a defender for another attacker. Like you got to do something rather than just a like for like obvious changes of like the Jacob Murphy's coming on as well.
Yeah.
Two questions from me, and actually this format, the way we have it laid out on screen, it's like we're giving Ryan an interview. Anyone else feel like that? But
I like this. Come at me.
Come at you. Okay, Ryan. With you being in Canada, the games being on the time zone over here, do you getting up for games and to watch them? And my second part of the question is: have you been to St. James's Park, and is it on your bucket list to get over? If not.
First part of the question, the earliest games will be is 7:30 in the morning for me.
Oh, too bad.
And my job already, I wake up pretty early enough, so like waking up at 7:30 is like sleeping in almost. So like the Fulham game for me will be at 10 o'clock, for example, on Saturday. So, and the second part, I have to come to St. James's someday, man. I got to figure that out somehow, like with work and stuff, and trying to get time off maybe. But
Ryan, I'm going to stop you there. April is a great month to come and join me, because the Loaded Boys, we're going to be there at Southampton at home at St. James's.
All of us.
Yeah, we're all going to be
loaded.
there,
Nice,
included, and you've got a number of months there to plan ahead, and that's not just for you; that's for everyone else in the chat as well. It's a perfect weekend to come and join us. So if there's ever a weekend to come and join us in England and in Newcastle, it's then.
I always thought maybe coming like August or like December, where there's like packed games almost, so I could come for like a few or like maybe one away game.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think the plan, it's not much of a plan, but it's been a thought. Like if I ever come to the UK, I think I'd have to fly from probably like Montreal to London, for example, and then Alex, right, Stato, like I'm good friends with him. He says like I can meet up with him in the Midlands because he lives somewhere around there. Go with him, and then we drive up to Newcastle, something like that.
Cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's what when I'm looking at trying to plan a game as well, I try and see if there's two home games close together that I can try and that's the game to get there. If you can get tickets, then is the next problem after that. But yeah,
I heard that like season ticket holders get first dibs on like regular tickets too. So like I'm already close enough with Paul. I'm a mod on his channel, and like I have contact with him directly, and I could probably ask him one time, like way ahead in advance. Actually, no, because like it's like a 2-week tickets for home games are released like 2 weeks before. Yeah. So it's
can be difficult. And then of course it's the whole if you're trying to plan in advance and plan flights and stuff.
I can do that now.
It's for TV and stuff like so. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I could plan right now if I want to come to Newcastle, but the biggest decider is if I get a ticket or not.
Yeah,
and that's 2 weeks before.
I don't think you'd have any problem getting a home ticket, mate. I think if people knew you were coming up, I'm sure somebody would help you out. And
put it this way, Ryan. If you're able to get over for the Southampton game, I know all 4 of us are members, and we've already got our tickets and hospitality for that one because we've it's a treat for us to be together. We've all got membership, so we could get a ticket for you. We could use our membership to get you one. You know what I mean? So you would guarantee to get one if you wanted one, mate. If you were able to get over.
Yeah. Don't worry about a ticket. Just get yourself. If you can secure it, like Richie said, if you can secure yourself getting over, the ticket would be secure. I won't worry about that.
Yeah, it will get far, mate. It will.
Yeah, it's definitely in the bucket list, 100%.
Cool.
I was going to ask you one thing before you go, because obviously you mentioned you're from Canada. Obviously, when you were growing up, what was it like following David Edgar? Because obviously he was the Canadian captain for a while, and obviously he played for Newcastle in the early days of his careers and stuff like that. Was that ever something that you looked at towards? Because he was a defender as well, and obviously you said you grew up being a defender as well.
To be honest, it was like I didn't know right away until I found out like fully that like one is maybe like a few years ago. Honestly, I searched it up. I just felt like searching up Canadians in the Premier League, and I saw David Edgar play for Newcastle. I didn't, but I think he's not. I guess he's not really too not found of, but like talked about, because you look on his Google, he's got like a few appearances or whatever. So
yeah,
what can you go off of there? So yeah.
No, thanks, Ryan, for joining us and making your debut on Loaded Mag NUFC, and we know loads about you now, so we'll be in touch whether you get the job or not. In this interview, but no, great to have you on all this, and also great to see someone different as well join the channel. We haven't had someone different on for a while now, so cheers to that. But when we'll talk to you next time, we'll run the show. Feel free to drop on and take it from there.
Can I just say the last thing too of like me supporting this club? It's got one thing that was part of it too is just the fans and the culture. I mean, Newcastle is such great fans, man. Like, it's amazing. The passion is unreal.
Yeah. Wait till you're in St. James's, mate. It's like I must admit, it's gone. Well, Vichy will tell you. Vichy's been more to St. James's than all of us, but it's the atmosphere now is just something else. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's completely next level. Stuff like the Everton game, that was absolutely phenomenal. When obviously Trippier scored the over the wall, that was a tremendous game. The Forest game was a fantastic atmosphere at the start of the season. The only one I think which I heard was a really, really good atmosphere, and I wasn't able to get a ticket, was the Arsenal game, end of the season, last home game. Yeah. That was next level as well. But it's the TV doesn't do it justice. Or if you're watching on a laptop, it just doesn't do it justice at all.
Oh, you're in for a treat. I've been over just the first game this season, but I'm looking forward to getting back now again and for the Southampton game with the boys. But yeah, something that you'll really enjoy. Ryan, we'll take a good look to you, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good day.
Cheers, Ryan. All the best, mate.
Thank you guys so much.
Take care, my man.
Bye.
Yeah, mate. Nice to see you.
Great to have a fresh face on, and someone young as well. We don't get too many young Newcastle fans on with us here. So great.
You're going to make some fans. You're going to make some followers very angry, Daz, by saying.
Well, we're in the same bracket. That's what I'm trying to get at there. So that's it from I guess from the green room. We've known us the green room. But there was a few more things we wanted to touch on. I thought I'd tell you. That was always going to happen. Watch it. Is it full time? Because there's still a chance for Armenia. Get your money on Armenia now. Get it now.
About 20 minutes left, I think.
Yeah.
15 minutes. 15 minutes left.
That's while we're gathering our thoughts, I'm going to run through the sponsors because there's a few more things we want to say. I want to give a shout out to shybarns.com. Simon, of course, who put us in contact with Robson to get Robson on the course at Robson Green during the week, or last week, and Simon does arrange from Shy Barns, and check out the website for the latest, and also for the loaded t-shirts, mugs, and bottles, and also the away days version, the Brazilian/Swedish version of that Pete was modeling for us there the other day. Shout out to Pins and Prints and Dean and the range that Dean has there. Again, go to check out the latest. I'm sure he's got more new stock set up by now. Also to Machine House, and I'm sure I have the new picture here somewhere. I think I remember putting it up. So Machine House, yes, here it is. Some of the new t-shirts and range from Machine House. Love this one. I love the way that blends into the background of the t-shirt. But check out Marty and Machine House and the range she's got going there. And Oh, we completely forgot about our prize. Oh, we moved it to another show, didn't we? Our prize draw that we'll sort out during the week. That just came back to my mind there again. Also, a shout out to the Geordie Rise and Dean, and actually get well soon, Dean. I know you had a bit of an injury there in the football pitch, so get well soon, Dean. Hope you make a quick recovery and get back into the exercise. Then again, you're making great strides, I hear.
Yeah, I was speaking to him yesterday. It's he's been told that if it's a good recovery, it's going to be at least 4 months. At least 4 months, because he's actually ruptured the Achilles tendon at the bottom of his calf. So it's like, yeah.
Looking at it was 4 months. Normally it's
well, that's what I said. I wouldn't care. He said he's going to wear a boot for the 4 months, but there's a possibility. That's what the specialist said. It could, if everything goes according to plan, best you could hope for is 4 months, but it could take as long as 9 months. And I said that's normally the Achilles is normally 9 months, like so. But all the best team we all think of you, mate.
Jesus. Well, at least he's got
probably 4 months till he's out the boot, but then he won't be doing sport for at least 8-9 months.
No, I think I think he said the boot was 8 weeks. I think, but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They get them back out early. They try and get them back on their feet early, but like the Achilles is such a weird, funny injury where like it can just go again in an instant.
Yeah, I've just got his messed up. He's got 8 weeks. He's got to have in the boot.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, at least he's got a World Cup to look forward to, and to keep him entertained as well. So that's something, I suppose. But yeah, check out what Dean has available there on the site, of course. And that was it from the sponsors. I know we are going to have an away days this week, probably on Thursday. Pete is sorting out the details as we were talking about before, just pre-show.
It's a new pod. It's a new pod that we're getting on. So we've got a few irons in the fire. I'm sure we'll have one confirmed by Thursday. As Tom Dixon messaged me earlier and asked the question, so we will have an away days. There's no doubt about it.
The match could have to be called off. There was no away days, I think. So it has to go ahead.
You're absolutely right, Baz. Is that the Craven Cottage? If there's no away days, as simple as that.
And of course, we'll be back with a review show. I think we've set up for Saturday night, so we'll be back for that. A few of us will, or whatever. And hopefully, we're shouting for a win, and we have the picture of the team celebrating. But that was it from the kind of show. Of course, if you haven't seen it already, make sure you catch the Robson Green show. That was a good show, good one to watch back again. And Robson was absolutely brilliant right from the start. But I know an awful lot more about fishing than I do now. Look, he gave me one of his top. Let me see. Chris, you had a topic you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, so I'll bring this topic up and then we'll finish on questions, because we did have a few questions in there, and obviously we can do a quick round robin. But what I wanted to bring up, and this is one of my friends, a fellow Newcastle fan, and unfortunately, it appears, and it certainly seems this way, that he's been scammed out of tickets. So he's attempted to get tickets from a Newcastle fan, a fellow Newcastle fan. I doubt it is a Newcastle fan, if I'm honest. And unfortunately, he's ended up, I believe, paying at least twice the amount. And now that person is seemingly not contacting him, not liaising with him. So I'm bringing this up because this is apparently the account that he was using, Mark John Warner. I'm sure that's not his name. But it's just for everyone to just be, I suppose my message is to just try and be vigilant. You know, in this day and age, you'd think that gobshites like that wouldn't exist, but unfortunately they do. And as you can see, I'm quite pissed off about it. Things like that just really annoy me. And the way that things are at the moment, you know, obviously we're in a recession, and, you know, people are struggling for money, and lecky bills are going up, gas bills are going up. And the last thing you want is to be scammed by somebody. You would think, as I say, this day and age that wouldn't happen, but unfortunately it does. And there are some not very nice people out there. So all this is just a quick message just to say to people, just be vigilant. I know that 95% of the people who, you know, are genuinely selling tickets, there's some fantastic people out there. Loads of people have sourced tickets for me in the past, and you know, I've built relationships from it as well and everything. You know, there is some really genuine people out there, but it's just to kind of let you all know that unfortunately,
Chris,
it's what? Sorry, Pete.
the guy that sorted us the Forest tickets wasn't even from England. He was from he was from another country. He was absolutely spot on with us and managed to get us the Forest tickets. So it meant that all of us were able to meet up, which was amazing.
Yeah. There is some really genuine people out there and really, really nice people. But unfortunately, amongst that, there is some not very nice people. And as I refer to them, gobshites. So Mark, John Warner, if you're watching it, I know that's not your name, but yeah, hope you enjoy being outed, mate, because it's just disgusting what's happened. Again, I'm pretty convinced he's not a Newcastle fan, but just be vigilant, just be careful. And if you can do things through PayPal, if you can get like a bit of an audit trail just to protect yourself, just try and do that. I know sometimes it's not that easy, but it's so easy to get scammed these days. And unfortunately, people do it a lot with football tickets. So yeah, just be vigilant.
Yeah,
just look at the stadium.
Yeah,
I said to Chris earlier, look at the stadium that's on his profile. That is not Newcastle United, which tells you a lot about his intentions, and whether the guy was aware of that beforehand, probably not. That's probably, it says a lot, really. I don't know what stadium it is. I can't see from that point of view. We had a chat earlier and we thought, what stadium?
I think it looks like Anfield, doesn't it?
Yeah, possibly Anfield.
I mentioned the same, but we don't know for sure. But it says a lot. Like if we had a stadium in the background of our like kind of profiles, which stadium we're going to have. It's that question, you know what I mean? Like, so the fact that he's got a stadium and it's red and white and not black and white, it tells you a lot about the person that it is. And it's like you said, Chris, it's shit.
I suppose the message is just be vigilant, and a great point you made, Chris, is if you can use PayPal, because PayPal have fraud departments and stuff like that, so you have some kind of protection if you needed to go back, and they could run a bit of a trace on it. But
I think just to highlight on that as well, because I know there was a lot of people that were after Sam Fender tickets. Obviously, I'm only saying this because obviously it's at St James's Park, and there's a lot of Newcastle fans that love his music and want to go at that particular game. Some of the prices that we're seeing that weekend were extortionate. Everyone was fighting for it. You shouldn't, if you're going to be, looking to get one off someone, try your reputable, recycle ones. Don't just, my wife, when she was looking, like, think how what was going up for the Wednesday, what for the Friday one, sorry, and you had people selling them for like close to £800 for 4 tickets and stuff like that. And I'm talking like ridiculous amounts of money. So look, really, really be careful when you're doing it, and make sure you protect yourself in any way. And yes, you might want to go to an event so bad, but you shouldn't be paying over the odds. You should just be paying. For me, it's face value. If I had a ticket and I couldn't go out to sell it with face value, you're not out of pocket at the end of the day. You're helping someone out get a ticket who wants a ticket, but just obviously be careful.
What was the face value, by the way? Because like I'll be honest, like I respect Sam Fender, but I don't really listen to his music. So I'm not
the tickets that we got for me and Mark got, I think it was about £67, including the booking fee and stuff like that.
That's how it should be. That's how it, because that's just a little bit more expensive than a football match ticket, like a match ticket. So that's how it should be. Like I've seen other like artists that have been out there like £200, £150 a ticket, like that standard price, £67 for St James's Park, for Sam Fender going to his home ground. That is exactly what you should be paying, 100%. Yeah. So just for everyone out there, like you just said, Rich, face value is what it should be. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
Chris, you have a few questions you wanted to bring up.
Yeah. So I've just got a few questions to whiz through. I'm conscious we're coming up to 2 hours, so I'll quickly whiz through them. Mark Todd, I know we're going back onto England here, but I wanted to ask Mark's question. If Eddie Howe left to be England manager, who would you guys have as the next Newcastle manager?
Oh, one sec. I just before we all answer this, I started watching back one of the shows from just after the takeover, and it was where we had all the odds on of England managers, and we're going around the table who we wanted, and we all at the time we all wanted Conte, and then it was like it was worth watching. Watch half an hour of it. It was just who we ruled out, who we ruled in, but. Imagine getting back to that stage again. I don't want to. I'm very happy with Eddie Howe, but I suppose that's where we would be back looking at odds and trying to pick out one from here. So sorry, carry on.
No. It's a good one, Daz. Yeah, because our opinions may have changed a little bit now, mightn't they? I think the front runners at the time were Rodgers and Conte. I think they were the ones that everyone was talking about.
Yeah,
Thomas Tuchel, get him in. If Eddie Howe left the club, and I don't want him to, you know how I feel about War Eddie. Thomas Tuchel, he's the man.
It's a tough one, mind. I think you'd have Poch mentioned again potentially. I agree. Tuchel will probably be up there as well, and I no doubt. Because obviously how the link he had to the consortium in the build up to over the years, I can guarantee Rafa would get mentioned again. But I think that what you've got to look at now is, would you go? It would have probably been ideal as the first manager to come in with the consortium because he's there to build a project. But what you've got to remember now is we're picking all these names out there, but now you've got a director of obviously you've got Dan Ashworth in there. So Newcastle are building like they did with the England DNA. They are going to be building that from the academy upwards. So whoever this manager is going to be, it's going to be someone that fits the format of how Newcastle want to play going forward. So I would not want to put my hat on or money on anybody because it could be completely left field. Seriously, it might not even be someone that you think about. You look at Brighton. Would you have went for the manager they went? Would you have expected to go for who they went for? No. But obviously, that's going off.
That'll be tactical. That'll be a
that's it
move.
because they're using the Dan Ashworth model. That's why they're using the Dan Ashworth model. So they want to play football the same way. And obviously, it's David Weir to take over as sporting director there now, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So obviously, he'll be bringing stuff. So it's all going to be about people who will play football the way that they're bringing from grassroots all the way through to the first team. So it would be completely left field if that was to happen.
100% it'll be Gareth Southgate.
Fuck off. Don't even joke about
I'm going to be.
Oh God.
Do you know what? I'll tell you what wouldn't be a bad shout, right? If Eddie Howe left, and I know he's got such a connection with all his staff and everything like that, I wouldn't mind Jason Tindall giving possibly like a run of a few games to see what he would do. See if he would dip his toe in as the manager, because obviously he'll have learned a lot of things from Eddie Howe. Do you know what I mean? So it might be an interesting shout, but depends on how his connection with Eddie and whether he would want to be part of the England setup as well.
I think it does. I don't have a name ahead at the moment, but I think they would go. So you're saying that okay, that Gareth Southgate would bring us to the World Cup, and then January, Eddie Howe takes over as England manager. I don't know. I think they'd go for it has to be someone that fit into the system, as Richie is saying. But I think also you'd hope it wouldn't need to happen as soon as this, but they will go for someone a bit bigger name this time. But again, it has to fit both criteria. I think Piff would want a slightly bigger name as well, though, because you imagine this will happen, but it'll be like in a number of years' time, and then we're well established, the foundations are there, and then we'll be bringing in a bigger name manager. But no, delighted with Eddie, and then let him keep going. And I think he would want to stick it out in the project as well. It's only going to get better for him, and picking up the pieces after Gareth Southgate. Would he want to? Not too early for him yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think Eddie Howe would take it. But if he did, I'm talking hypothetically, I'm gonna throw a name in here, and I think you're gonna think I'm nuts saying it. But I would probably, especially because I think that he's probably going to be available, I'd probably go Rodgers.
Rodgers.
I probably will. I think I do have sympathy with Rodgers to a degree over, what's happened with the owners. I don't think he's had the money. Well, I'd say I don't think he's had the money. He hasn't had the money. And I do think, there's a bit more in the tank. He's got the experience for Liverpool. He's done a good job at Leicester, to be fair. But I just think he's kind of run out of steam. But
Leicester homeboy.
Chris,
yeah.
you've just said everything about, like, you've just said Brendan Rodgers. Like, when you said it, I wasn't surprised by that at all. And you thought maybe people would be surprised. I wasn't personally, and the reason being is because Brendan Rodgers, wherever he's been in recent years, it's about money and how much he's got to spend. Brendan Rodgers is a manager that likes to spend money. And this is why he's been so frustrated at Leicester. And, like, obviously living in Leicester, reading the papers, listening to fans that support Leicester. It's been hilarious, by the way. But but listening to what they're saying is because he's been so used to splashing the cash, spending crazy money on these players and being able to build this squad to where they were. But then when they've got their money, he's fallen flat. And what you're seeing right now is a team at the bottom of the Premier League. And this is my only issue with that, is that, like, yes, we're a team that's got a lot of money and we're going to spend money and we will continue to spend money in the years to come. And that would fit Brendan Rodgers. But at the point in which we want to consolidate, is he going to still be able to continue to build that squad and continue to build us forward? That's my only question mark. I like Brendan Rodgers. We talked about him when the takeover happened, and look, we'll probably talk about this in the next week or so, because we might have things planned for that anniversary. And with Brendan Rodgers, he was a candidate that we put in front of us. But I just think, from what I've seen in the summer, in the build up to the new season, I don't like it. I don't like it. I that's me personally, but the ownership might see differently.
Pete, do you think with Rodgers, though, he's lost the basis of what made him a good manager in the first place, because he was a fantastic coach? You look at when he was he started off at Chelsea, in the backroom staff there, then he went to Reading and Swansea. So he earned his stripes for when he went to Liverpool, and obviously he's had that touch when he went to Liverpool where it's, I've got money now. And then obviously, it got that cycle where he did well and it came to an end. He went to Celtic, found his feet a bit, built his reputation up again, and then he's moved straight on to Leicester. Started off his coaching well, had the money to spend, but now that money's gone, and you start to think, is he relying on that money too much? Now, I don't think I would have him at Newcastle, because I think he'd be wanting to rely on the money too much. You look at Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe came. We saw before even the transfer window got to it. The first thing that was said to it, everyone said it. We said it numerous times on here. It was how he got the best out of the players we already had. And then you look at how Fabian Schär was revitalised. You look at what he did with Joe Linton in that space of a few. Typical. That's a bit wrong way around it. You look at obviously with Joe Linton and stuff like that. That's coaching. And that's, you've got, you look out there, who would be, you look at, you can go to Pochettino, for example. We mentioned he started in these stripes at Southampton, not really, a club that spends a lot of money. So he got to Spurs by off his coaching merits, obviously. And then he went to Spurs, tight purse strings there, the very frugal, everyone knows what Daniel Levy's like. He's dead frugal with his cash. You don't even know who's in charge of the recruitment there sometimes, though. That's the problem. So you'd be thinking, any of the people like he's being bought, are the Levy's guys or are the Poch's guys? Yeah. But then the only concern with regards to Pochettino is they did quite well at PSG, really. They're still, I know they didn't win the league the 1 year because obviously Lille would have, but he won the league the other year and stuff like that, won the cup and stuff as well. And he had that money to spend, but all the names that were coming felt they were too. Poch wasn't a big enough name for them, sort of thing. So it would be interesting to how a similar sort of project in Newcastle, which is a league he's familiar with, and would he fit the DNA system that, that's currently at the club now, that's getting formalised with Ashworth. But that's probably the most like for like guy. I could potentially say that's names we may know. But as I said, it wouldn't surprise me if we went completely left field on that one.
The net will be cast wide. We know that.
Yeah,
definitely.
For the purpose of anyone listening back on Spotify, I was just celebrating Ireland 3, Armenia 2. Armenia got 2 lads sent off in the last the 89th and 90th minute, and Ireland got a penalty. So there you go. Romance of football is not dead.
Richie, you made a really good point, and you're right. There are so many managers. I'm gonna mention a manager now that's at the top of his game that heavily relies on money, and it's Pep Guardiola. And Pep Guardiola has built his career almost on Barcelona, on those young players coming through the academy and making it big in the game. He then relied on Messi to bail him out in a lot of their games and winning those big trophies. He then went to Bayern Munich and relied on the money and the fact that they were they were the team with the biggest squad and the biggest finances. He's then gone to Man City and basically done the same. But what is still created is still amazing. And that's down to coaching. Like, there's been times where he hasn't had the money to spend and he still made it work. He's had Liverpool that's been up his arse and he still made it work. So he's got that coaching ability. With Brendan Rodgers, for me, I would have expected this season that and this is what really disappointed me about Brendan Rodgers, even though he's not a Newcastle manager and he's not someone that I overly care about, is that for me, watching him this season, losing Kasper Schmeichel, okay, losing one or two other players, fair enough. I would have expected him to go off and genuinely sign someone like Martin Dubravka and replace him with a good goalkeeper. He's not. He's stayed with a goalkeeper that's awful. He's not replaced the players that he should have. He's held on to the players that he should have, that he shouldn't have, in my opinion, that are desperate to get out of the club. Desperate. Just one or two have mentioned it. James Maddison, desperate to get out of the club. Yuri Tillemans, desperate to get out of the club. But he's kept hold of them, and it's why they're in the position they are right now. Because they've kept hold of players that that don't want to be at the club. They want to be out. They want to be out of the club. And I just think, for me, I think he could have organised his team a lot better. A lot better. And there are other managers in there that actually are better coaches. Now, what I love about Eddie Howe is that Eddie Howe has had the amount of riches that are available to him. And he could have... And it's been well documented this summer. He's had every player. He's had every player offered to him. Emmanuel Dennis being one. Maxwell Cornet being another. That's just two of players. Even Scamacca at West Ham been offered to him. Lucas Paqueta, it's been well documented that he's been offered to him. He's had so many other players offered to him as an opportunity. But he stuck to his guns. He signed Nick Pope for 10 million, albeit a £3 million initial fee. He signed Matty Target on a free after having a loan fee of 3 million, signing for 12 million. He signed Sven Botman. He managed to prize him away from AC Milan and got him for 30 million. Guarantee the next move he makes, if he leaves Newcastle United, will be close to double that figure. In my opinion, he signed these players. Alexander Isak, I'm guaranteed. Like, how much I love Callum Wilson, but once we sign this guy, in my opinion, he's the main man. He's the main man. Alexander Isak is the guy that leads us into the next era of Newcastle United. I'm guaranteed on that. And this is what Eddie Howe's done. Yes, he spent a little bit of money, but he spent it wisely. And that's what you can say that a lot of other managers haven't done. And that's my biggest thing. And this is why I love Eddie Howe, because he's not bought into, let's just sign this player, that player, all the others, and just get any old player in. He's investigated, he's looked closely, he signed the right player at the right club at the right time. And that's why I love him. And this is why the likes of Brendan Rodgers and other managers are not even on my radar on the back of this. And it would only take a top manager like Thomas Tuchel to come in to be able to make me feel comfortable about where we're going as a club.
Yeah, it's back up what you're saying there. It's all about character for Eddie Howe, and that's we talked about another topic there. One of these shows previously about Jack Grealish. That's why Eddie Howe will never sign Jack Grealish. Character, no.
Just a few more comments. Nothing major. Seb, friend of the channel, says, have you guys heard the story that Graham Jones is trying to help us sign Tielemans in January? Apparently they had a good relationship when he was on Belgium's coaching staff. Really good point there from Seb. Tom Dixon, similar with the Leicester rumours. Newcastle are reportedly preparing a new offer for James Maddison in January. And then I've just got two very quick questions. So the first one from Ian McKenna. I watched a YouTube vid on that Garang Kual today. He looks a real talent, and yeah, like you, Ian, I've seen a video on Kual, and those rumours have resurfaced again. I think it was Keith Downey who said that apparently, I think Pete posted it in the chat today, saying that this deal looks like it's imminent, and then it's when rather than if that happens. But have you lads had a chance to look at Kual? He certainly looks a player.
We talked about him a bit with the Tune Under, but Keegan from the Tune Under show there. Go back about a week and a half ago or so, and he gave his insight on him as well. Yeah, we kind of have touched on him before, but yeah, there's limited clips of him on YouTube. Yeah. He does look good in that, and that kind of Aussie All-Star game against Barcelona where he did a brilliant run through breaking through everyone there. But yeah, look, it's the one that will I imagine he'll hopefully rock up with the two now, and whether he probably go out on loan or something like that. Just to a European club, so that's the kind of paper talk is saying anyway. But yeah.
I think the interesting thing I've noticed about from the clips I've seen him, that he's predominantly left-footed, but he's still pretty good with his right foot as well. It's everything that we're calling out for from Miggy. That he's got a fantastic left foot on him, but when he's been coming off that right flank, he's not afraid to use his right foot either, whether it's either for cross or having a shot, and he's scored some really good goals with his weaker foot as well. He's probably like a 60-40 ratio. His left foot's like amazing, but his right foot's nearly as good. It's possible to take a bit like how Ryan Fraser is. He can be two-footed occasionally. He can play on either flank. It's probably the same as Garang Kual, but obviously it's got that status where I think if you bring him over, the work permit side of things, that's probably going to be the issue for. You couldn't integrate him now. You'd have to load him out to the Europe to get that qualification up, and hopefully you get to the Australia squad for the World Cup. We can have a bit more of a look of him, but not just that. That helps with his coefficient to get him into the for his work permit as well for when it comes out in January as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he'll go to the World Cup. What have Australia got to lose in taking him to the World Cup? They're not. Let's face it. With all due respect, they're not a country that have got an array of talent available to them. So if they've got a top talent, a top young talent in Corral, who could go to them with them to the World Cup, who's already pre-agreed to signing at Newcastle United, a top Premier League club that's going to be the best in the world in years to come. And look, I think we'd all agree that will be the case. That for me is a reason to take him to the World Cup, to get him to play games. And that if you're Newcastle United, you're going to want to have that conversation with the Australian national team to say, hold on, he's going to be your future. Take him to the World Cup because we can sign him. And I'll be honest with you, from what I've seen, and I've said it to you guys before, he reminds me a hell of a lot of Ousmane Dembele. Maybe not the same foot in the same quality on the board as what he's produced, but he reminds me the same of the way in which he plays, the way he carries the ball, the way he runs, his movement with the ball at his feet reminds me very much of the same. And if we can even get 60-70% of the like Ousmane Dembele and what he produces, and we can keep him fit, unlike Ousmane Dembele, I think we've got a top talent on our hands that actually could come into the team in January and affect the way in which we play. We're talking about Elliot Anderson, and there's calls on our chat tonight, and there's been calls on our chat for weeks now to say Elliot Anderson needs to play. He's ready. He's come on and he's done the business. Someone like him coming in January, if he can do that in the Premier League, you take him all day. You take him all day, surely.
Just on Garang Cowell there, Adam. I did say it. Yeah, so the Australia in the group with Denmark, Tunisia, and France. So that's a tough group for them to try and get out of. But didn't England do that before as well? Was it Sven-Göran Eriksson brought someone? Was it Walcott or something? Yeah, Walcott. Yeah. And to a World Cup just to kind of give him tournament experience as well. He was the up and coming thing at the time. Didn't work out for him so well after that, but yeah, so interesting how that will play out.
I think it sounds like he will go to the World Cup, because maybe that's why Newcastle is trying to get the deals done early. Because if he does go to the World Cup and blows up, half of Europe will probably be on him. Yeah. So it's good.
Well, apparently
it's get it tied up.
Dortmund are in for him as well, but Newcastle have stole a march on them, and we know what Dortmund's recruitment's like for youngsters. You know, they've been fantastic, and they've been pulling people from. You know, you look at Pulisic and Reina from how young they were. You know, from the US. You know, they've now Bellingham as well. You know, from Birmingham when he was just a bairn really, and now he's already played 100 times for Borussia. Do you know what I mean? So it's they've got a fantastic scouting network for young talent. And it's obviously something that Newcastle try to replicate, that sort of model.
Another, just getting off topic a bit, but another name that's been mentioned the last few days is, and yeah, you'll enjoy me saying this one, Adam, is Mikhailo Mudryk. Butchered that, I know, but he plays for Shakhtar Donetsk, and he's actually playing tonight against Scotland, or he was, and he came off. But yeah, he's someone that's been kind of being mentioned for Newcastle as well. So there's been about 5 or 6 names mentioned in the last couple of days. So it's kind of starting up again, leading into January, and with all these names being linked. But he looks pretty decent from the clips I saw him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to end on this question, boys, because I promised I would ask this question, and it's from PDK. And he says, did you guys answer the Botman or Burn question I had to pop out? So PDK asked earlier on in the show, for Fulham, would you guys start Botman or Burn?
Botman.
Pete.
I don't even need to answer that question.
right beside Char, yeah.
Let's do it. The old Christmas special.
Oh, mate. By the way, did you all look? Do you remember when it was a show ages ago? And do you remember I said to you all that when I'm sure it was it when Trippier scores and he started going like that when he ran over? Definitely he's on it.
Was it not the City game?
Yeah.
He ran off.
He started off with that, and I thought, catching on.
So Trippier is watching Loaded. That tells me.
Yeah.
Not watching He's watching Loaded.
Does, yeah.
Front and tunnel, as always.
Right, lads. Are we bringing it to a close?
Yeah.
The new Fully Loaded. No, great to have everyone back on tonight. We will be back during the week, and great to have our guests tonight in the shape of Paulie G, Jimmy, Sam, the Bond villain, and Ryan, our debutant Ryan. So great to have everyone on. Rightio, we'll see you all soon. Good night. How?
Night.
Take care.
Oh.